Thanks everybody for coming out. It's great to see all these faces, and see, it's not scary. And thanks for the music. And you know, that Leonard Cohen choir is awesome. Conspiracy of Beards, just tons of men folk singing together very strongly and proudly. It's really great to see. So it's cool to have some music tonight. Okay, so has anybody seen me read from this, heard me read from this book? Did anybody go to Diesel or any of the City Lights or anything? Okay, I fear I'm sort of trying not to bore myself and don't want to repeat myself too much. But I started writing this book when I woke up one New Year's morning, New Year's 2006. And every year my husband and I have a New Year's Eve party. And we have a talent show, and we never invite people over to our house. It's totally my fault. You know, my husband's like, Brink, who cares, Brink? And it's the only time that people come over to our house all year long is we just, like, we flip a coin. We're like, who's going to clean the toilet? Okay, invite everybody over. And you know, I make a bunch of enchiladas or whatever, and then we have a talent show. And usually I get kind of drunk. And so, which is always kind of nice to just be in your own home and just sort of be, hey, it's all right, I'm not going anywhere, I'm among friends. And so I woke up New Year's Day 2006 really, really sore. And I had this gigantic plum-shaped colored bruise on my knee, and my hamstring was pulled. And I was laying in bed, and our kid was at my parents' house for the night. And I was just laying in bed, just like looking up, like just kind of reconstructing a little bit. And my husband got our digital camera, which is a really old one that only takes those movies that are like 6 seconds long. And so he's showing these over. So he turns it on, and this chant goes up in our dining room of splits, splits, splits. And then there I am at like 3 in the morning just going, woo! And they're busting out into the splits over and over again. And I had not, like, in 3rd grade, I was a gymnast, but that was about it. And so, I mean, I really hurt myself. And so I was laying there in bed thinking, God, you know, what I should do next year for the talent show is if I start now, it's New Year's Day, I could start training somehow, and I can learn how to do the splits with the other leg forward, right? Because I was really hurt because I kept doing it on the same side. And so I was like, how would I train? Like, is that a yoga thing? Just like certain stretches, or if I move? And as I sat there trying to figure out, like, oh, this will be really funny to do, or like while I'm waiting for the bus to like laugh, or I don't know what. Like, I just thought it'd be funny to do the splits on both sides. And I realized that this was the only goal I had set for myself for the entire year. And I had never made a New Year's resolution. I had never read a self-help book, and was, you know, quite, I think, understandably afraid of just all the cheesiness and all the grossness. I really was like, who buys these books? Millions and millions of people do. And then it just kind of hit me as I was sitting there. I was like, God, my fear of self-help is sort of adolescent. You know, a lot of it is really just some kind of knee-jerk reaction I had when I was a teenager, seeing Tony Robbins on TV and him just being, your life a masterpiece, you are the artist. You're painting, what kind of picture would you paint? Is it a portrait? You know, is it landscape? Is it abstract? You know, and I thought, God, who is watching TV, like calling the number and buying this stuff? Millions and millions of people. And I think that here in Berkeley, and I'm born and raised Bay Area lady, that I guess the idea of sort of the fringe element of self-help, like, you know, you're at the laundromat and then there's the weird flyer where you can pull the phone number off for some like hypnobirthing, and you're like, I could do this is weird, and like it's around the corner in somebody's, you know, add-on base garage or whatever, you know, and just like the idea of doing self-help on that level wasn't as exciting to me, because to me that's just sort of normal. It's just sort of like Berkeley, East Bay Area kind of thing. And the thing that was really exotic to me was this idea of these people who sell millions and millions of books. And so that's what I decided to do. And I thought, I'm going to take this year and I'm going to try to improve things that I'm going to pick things that I want to improve. And I do write with, you know, a big humorous overtone. But I wanted to pick things that I wanted to improve because it's such an easy thing to make fun of that I thought, if I'm not really trying to do this, it's going to be stupid. And so I picked 12 things that I wanted to improve. And, went, for my career month, I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and went to a Franklin Covey seminar in Chicago. For my relationship month, I read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which was a terrible idea, and went to go see John Gray in Atlanta. I did, personal finance with Susie Orman, spirituality with Deepak Chopra, all these people that I had really spent the past 20 years that I'd been aware of them just being like, what? Like, even Susie Orman, I didn't even know what that lady's name was on PBS. I would just change the channel. I'd be like, who is that lady? And then now, of course, I can't believe I ever didn't know what her name was. And I see her everywhere and hear about her everywhere. But, I think that's how out of sync and out of tune with that whole world I was. So, anyway, so I knew that I wanted to do a health and fitness month because I really had not exercised since the day of my final track meet in high school, which was 20 years before. And I had done like a little bit of yoga, when I was pregnant, and then, yoga's fine. I just knew that I wanted to find a guru for each of these things. And so the first person, of course, that came to mind was Jack LaLanne, because when I was growing up, my brothers and I would wake up super, super early. Our parents must have put us to bed. Now that I have a kid, I'm like, our parents must have been putting us to bed at 6 o'clock at night, because we would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and run downstairs and turn on the TV, and we would wait for the cartoons to come on, and we would watch Jack LaLanne. So me and my two older brothers, 3, 4, and 5 years old, just watching weird, 50s man calisthenics, and waiting for the cartoons to come on. And Jack LaLanne is still alive. He's 93, and he lives in Northern California. But there was nothing that I could participate with Jack. There's nothing he's doing now that would include someone like myself just calling him up. So I thought of another person that was maybe in my early teens, Richard Simmons. And he's the person who's been around really the longest, besides Jack, who is American fitness guru. So I went to richardsimmons.com, and I suggest you do the same. And I saw that Richard has a fitness cruise that he does every year, and it's a regular Carnival cruise ship. So it's the bottom rung of it. Has anybody read that essay by Mr. Wallace about about going on a cruise? It was that same route that I went on, a Caribbean cruise. And there's 2,000 people on board this ship, and then 225 are Richard's group. So you're on a regular Carnival cruise ship with just people who are wasted, people who by the end of the week had really not put on a lick of sunscreen the entire week, just beat red with their video cameras, following girls in bikinis, and then you're just over there with Richard Simmons doing aerobics. So anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from the Richard chapter, because it was a really fun one, and he was the guru that I really got to spend the most time with. And my friend Jan came with me on this. She's 46 years old and had just taken her first ever regular day job in her life, where she was like, God, I can't believe what I have to do this every day from 9 to 5. I can't believe. And she had to start the week after this cruise, so she's like, I need to go on vacation with you. And she's also somebody that's been struggling with her weight her whole life. And that was also something about Richard that I didn't really understand until I started looking into it, is that his specialty really is reaching out to really overweight people and inspiring them to move however they can. And so part of me, I paid for it myself. I didn't tell anybody I was a writer. But I did have this feeling like, God, I wonder if people are going to wonder what I'm doing there, or am I going to stand out? And as it turned out, there are people kind of all shapes and sizes on Richard's cruise, because there are people who have lost 200 pounds, and so now are regular sized people who have just love him and keep coming back for that. So that wasn't as much of an issue. But at first, Jan was like, if you need a fat friend, I will be your beard, and I will go. And I realized as I was doing my readings around the country saying beard that no one really laughs except for in the Bay Area. Okay, thank you.